one of the things I want to pick your brain about at some point, Sean, maybe today, maybe a different day, but is AI, and how are we going to use AI in the SDR world?
Yeah. It's interesting. My thoughts on it are a little bit. I almost think that we're going to get, and we're going to start to see the use of it. There's a lot of use cases for it, especially on the marketing side, especially on being able to kind of optimize things. The struggle with it that I think is going to happen is I think that people are going to get, especially on the marketing side, the graphics side, being able to make these properties look better than they actually are. And I think that
Yeah.
that is going to be, like we talk about all the time, we want to put our best foot forward. We need to attract as many customers as possible, but they need to walk into that house and it needs to look as good or better. They need to be surprised, like, man, this is awesome. Where I think that we're going to have an issue with AI in the very near future. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Airbnb, Verbo, in fact, I was having this conversation with Mike Whitfield recently saying, I think you're going to start to see them being able to scrape photos and say, we're not allowing AI generated images. We're not allowing AI doctored up in images. And I think that's going to hurt a lot of hosts, because I think it's getting to the point where there's a lot of properties that look really, really good, but some of them maybe not, or maybe not misleading in the sense like you're only getting, that's a short-term fix, because you and I both know your reviews are going to reflect that. Like you're going to
Yep.
be able to get away with that for the first few customers. Reviews are going to reflect it. But that's where I think that Airbnb, Verbo are going to start to put those filters on and disallow us from AI generated, especially images or doctored images, from showing up in our listings, frankly, because that their customer service issues, their complaints are going to skyrocket when guests start going into these properties and they're like, this isn't real. This is not what I saw online. Right. And so I think that the use case for us makes it easier. We can do things, but I think that the reality is there's going to be a lot of people that are going to reach too far or make it look too good. And
Hmm.
all of a sudden the guest is going to show up and say, this isn't what I thought I had. Right. And so
Yeah. Yep.
where I
Yeah,
have been,
we've actually been on that side of things because Hurricane Ian went through, and we took two hits, one at Piece of Paradise, one at Tipsy Turtle. So we had two houses down for the hurricane for a while, but we still had most of our original pictures back up there. But the vegetation didn't look
was
right
gone.
because
Yeah.
it
Didn't
was
look,
gone. It was
yeah.
stripped bare, and so we had people come in and they were upset that the yard didn't look like the way it did in the pictures, but the house was the same. I
Yeah.
can't make the tree grow back any
Yeah.
faster.
Yeah.
But it's all back now. That was 5 years ago or whatever it was, and the island looks fantastic right now. So
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that I think AI is making a big advantage for us as investors is being able to analyze data. That's where
mhm.
I am finding a lot of use for it in this game. Is on the creative side, very easy to kind of recognize where we can use that. But on the data analytics side, I'm really excited about some of the things that we're seeing and being able to use AI for on the back end. Now, I will say it's so good and it's so like time saving. We can look at so much data, analyze so much data, but you have to actually understand what you're looking at, and you have to have a very good baseline, fundamental knowledge of what you're trying to do and what you're actually reading, because on the surface it can almost lead you down the wrong road at times. And so I think that the use of AI on the data side is going to be a massive advantage for investors. I mean, I've been investing for 26 years. The amount of time it takes now to underwrite something and look at certain data points and scrape data points, I mean,
Yeah,
it's a fraction of what it used to be, which is awesome, right?
yeah,
But it also, if you don't know what you're doing, I could see where somebody is going to walk into a buzzsaw if they don't know how to read all that stuff.
yeah. I mean, I think you're absolutely right, though. I mean, if you could, and somebody can do this real easy, I'm sure. I'm not that tech savvy, but kind of create an AI bot that scrapes, the listings and then puts
Yeah,
them through your own performa, and you can say like, oh, these are the top performers of, maybe that exists already. I don't know. I still do the math the old school way.
yeah,
Um, I use an app called Deal Check. Forever,
yeah,
I used my own spreadsheet that I wrote, and then I found Deal Check, and that did way more things than my spreadsheet did, and I like that. So that's what I use these days. But you could use some sort of data scraper that would go around in a certain market, say Charleston, and tell you like this is the number one property that you should buy. And
Yeah.
obviously you're going to not just buy it on the math. I wouldn't. I would buy it on the potential and the experience that I can
Yep.
create out of it.
Yeah.
So
That's what it's. One of our members built a bot that went and scraped all. It went to the market they were thinking about buying. They bought a property in Tampa area, and they went and scraped all of their competitors' reviews to see what amenities were being mentioned in the reviews, what people were requesting, what people were saying. Man, we loved this, and then it compiled all the data, and it said like, okay, here's the top amenity that everybody's raved about, and he just listed it down. Here's the things that people said I didn't like, right, and listed it all down. And the report that he got was amazing. They put, when they were going through their design and setup phase, they used
mhm,
that exclusively almost for making some of the decisions on what they were going to put into the property. And
smart.
yeah, it was a brilliant use of AI, I felt like. And that's where
Yeah.
things like makes it so easy to do that. Well, they launched this property 3 months ago, and I mean it's already the number one property in that market, and it's just crushing it right now. And a lot of it has to do, it's a fairly amenity heavy property based on how they saw this like, and it's not a hodgepodge, right? It's very well put together and it's very congruent with everything, but it's this, this property that they're like, hey, we weren't even going to run down this road with this wellness like part in this area. We were going to focus more on just the water. They're on the water, and some of
Mhm.
the things that you would normally see, the kayaks and the fire pit out by the water and the dock and all that stuff. Well, they created this wellness retreat because everybody was, everybody, when they were reading the reviews, everybody was highlighting that that's what they wanted. And sure enough, this property is just crushing it. And a
Yeah.
lot of it
Check
is
all the
created.
boxes, right?
Yeah, exactly. He's like,
Yeah.
okay, people want this, we're going to provide it. They're
Yeah.
absolutely want this because everybody's talking about this one. And then he has some different kind of Easter eggs along the way. One of them was this massage chair room. They have this room with like all this like Himalayan salt and everything. It's very spa like, right? And then they have these two massage chairs that you go in there, and it's this quiet room separate from the house. And it's like one of their favorite amenities that everybody loves. But how many of us think I'm going to go invest, in $3,000 massage chairs and throw them in a room? And but they, one of these, like that for whatever reason, somehow that showed up in their AI scrape. We would have never saw that or thought of that looking at the data
Yeah.
on AirDNA or something, right?
Yeah, that's awesome though. I love that stuff. And part of what, I mean, a lot of what this is so fun for me is because you get to be creative like that.
Yes.